Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Rich Eisen Basketball Podcast. I'm TJ, here with my man, Adam Chudwin.
What's going on, TJ?
What's up, Adam? And, we also got on the phone, because he's working remote, we got our brother, Chris Brockman. Brockman, are you there from Tanzania or wherever you're at working remotely?
Anything's possible. What's up, fellas? Look, I got to say, I am so jacked for the Celtics game tonight. If you could have seen my house for Game 4, I was going nuts. It was one of those moments. I hadn't really been like that at all this series with Milwaukee. I was pacing. I was punching pillows. I was throwing stuff across the living room. Like, Sarah and Cage just left me alone because I was just so locked in, like KG in the old days in 2008. It was just crazy. I was just super hyped. I can't believe they came back and won after coming so close in Game 3. And, it was one of those games, like, season on the line. You're down 3-1. You only got a 15% chance of winning the series, but 2-2, anything's possible. So, I'm so hyped. What's up with you guys?
You got to be hyped, man. And, since you're not here and we got you on the phone, let's just continue with this Celtics talk. Now, I want to, make a little bit of a comparison. Back in the bubble, you guys remember the bubble when the Clippers went up 3-1 on the Nuggets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There was a moment where Marcus Morris tried to punk Paul Millsap in that game, right? The Clippers were up. I believe it was the fourth quarter. I want to say it was Game 5 or 6. And, he did the thing where he tried to punk Paul Millsap and it didn't work. And Millsap was just like, not today. And it completely changed the entire course of the series, the game and the series, because the Nuggets came back and won that game. And then they finished out the Clippers and won the series, after being down 3-1. And I don't know if that's going to be the same result of what happened last game with the Bucks and the Celtics. But there is a moment I'm getting at where Giannis threw down the dunk and he just stared daggers at Al Horford. And it was at this point that Al Horford's wife wrote a tweet and was like, I know that look. He's pissed. And then what happened after that was Al Horford decided he was going to turn back the clock and play like it was 2005 or something like that. So I kind of feel like sometimes you poke a bear, right? Or you poke something that's asleep and then they wake up and you kind of ultimately realize that maybe I shouldn't have done that. And I kind of feel that's what happened with Giannis with that dunk. What were your thoughts looking back at that, Chris?
That whole thing was crazy. Also, I think it's Al Horford's sister that tweeted that out.
Oh, it was his sister? Okay, not his wife? Okay.
I think it's his sister because she also had a weird F, Marry, Kill tweet a while back that didn't include Al Horford on it, so that would have been kind of weird if his
You're probably right then, yeah.
What I was thinking was, first off, Giannis got a tee for that, which is why are we teeing up guys in the playoffs for dumb stuff like staring after a sick dunk? I mean, Giannis absolutely destroyed him on that play and then gets a technical foul. But what was great is that the meme that was going around is Al's face, you done effed up, man. I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
And then he proceeded to have his greatest game of his career. He's 35 years old. He's had a really good career. He's made a ton of money. He was on the back-to-back Florida championships with Joakim Noah and
Corey Brewer
and those guys.
Billy Donovan.
And then I can't explain it, man. Watching Al just go to work. He has kind of a weird-looking jumper anyway, but literally, I swear, every time he shot the ball, I just knew it was going in. You could just tell he was locked in. And then he threw down that baseline dunk, and then everyone's trying to say, yourself included, that he elbowed Giannis in the face on purpose. I mean, come on. That was so preposterous. It was an accident. It just happened. Giannis was all over him the whole time. He came down. He wasn't even looking at him. And it was just look, man, sometimes it takes a moment in a game to kind of wake a team up. And I feel like we're going to be talking about this Al Horford game in Boston for many, many, many years.
And I really wish you were here this week because we could have gotten into this whole elbow thing. Now, Adam, the day after you came into work and you and I discussed it, and you had a particular point of view on the elbow, and then I kind of gave you a few words and said, well, this, that, and the third, and then you watched it again. So share with Brockman, because initially you were like, no, there was no way that was on purpose or deliberate. And then
Yeah, so my initial instinct was that it was not on purpose at all. But then I watched it like 3 or 4 times. And yeah, I think he had a little spite in him, and he actually was trying to hit Giannis at the end of it. I think that his emotions got the best of him, and he had a monster dunk. And I think he saw Giannis and he said, let me hit him a little. So I think it was done on purpose in the moment. I do actually think that. Yeah,
no, I'm not saying Al Horford's a dirty player or anything, but I just kind of feel like after that dunk happened, that was kind of like a mini receipt. No, did he mean to elbow him in the jaw and knock him down? No, but these guys are fairly athletic, and they have control of their limbs, so to say. So I feel like, yeah, he kind of put a little extra in there. And look, I don't have a dog in that fight, and I don't have a problem with it either. Like, that was kind of like a back up off me, I remember what you did type play. Now, obviously, you wouldn't think that, Chris. You wouldn't think that it was.
No, I wouldn't think that at all. No one in Boston has ever committed a dirty foul or done a dirty play in the history of Boston Athletics. Now, but in that instance, like I guess when you slow everything down to super slow-mo replay that we're watching these games in now, like 4K, 8K, 12K, and I wish I had 12K on me right now. That'd be great. And you're just watching the slow motion, like, yeah, it looks like he elbowed him in the face. But when you watch it in real time, he doesn't look in his direction. His arm eventually has to come down, people. Like, and Giannis is all over him. So where is his arm going to go? Well, Giannis's face is in the way. Get out of the way. Like, it was 100% on Giannis. He got called for a foul, rightfully so, and it's the play that changed this whole series. And when Boston is lifting the Larry O.B., we're going to put it on T-shirts. We're going to talk about it at the parade. It's going to be up there with Havlicek stole the ball. Now there's a steal by Bird. The Paul Pierce, taking a dump and then coming back and winning the game against the Lakers is going to be one of the greatest plays in Boston sports history. I don't know what we're talking about.
And I think he just answered our question, Adam.
Well, Brockman, how confident are you now going into Game 5 tonight? We have an early game at 4 Eastern. Recording this, it's about 1 o'clock Pacific time right now. How do you feel going into Game 5? That'll be in about 3 hours.
So I guess, in all seriousness, I think that Boston wins tonight, and I think it's going to be relatively easy. I think it's going to be a double-digit win. I just think the short turnaround for these games, every other day. Look at the end of that game, Game 4. Giannis looked gassed for like the whole fourth quarter. He's literally doing everything out there.
He's putting in work.
If Connaughton and Grayson Allen and Portis and Drew Holiday has been so inconsistent offensively, if those guys aren't making any outside shots, Giannis literally has to do everything. Their entire offense runs through him. I mean, as it should. He's the best player in the league. But he just looks so tired at the end of those games. I think they had to travel, and they have to get out there and have a quick turnaround. The Boston Garden is going to be so absolutely insane tonight. Like, the fans, nobody went to work in Boston today. Those idiots have been drinking all day, and they're just going to be psychotic tonight there. And so I just think all of that combined with Jason Tatum really hasn't had a great series so far. He did have, he had 30 in Game 4, but that was kind of his first big game of the series. I think he's going to have a big night. And if Marcus Smart just does just those little things that he does, Horford hits a shot, Derek White comes in and hits a shot, he's played well, they're just going to go nuts, and the roof is going to come off that place. And Milwaukee's just going to be like, screw it, let's just go back to Milwaukee, tie it up, and take our chances in Game 7.
Man, and such wishful thinking there.
And you talk about the role players of the Bucks. Last game, Bobby Portis only scored 4 points, and Grayson Allen only scored 7 points. So when you have 11 points between those guys, you are not going to win. Those are the crucial role players for the Bucks. They have to step up for the Bucks to have a chance.
At least one of them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of what I said before. With Middleton being out, they need these guys to really step up. Connaughton is a hometown Boston kid. Maybe he has a good game in front of his family and friends, but they really need all three of those guys to make outside shots. Like, Giannis can't go 45, 20, and 10 every single game. Like, as much as he is a superhuman athletic freak of nature, he can't do it every game himself. I just don't see that happening tonight, especially with only 1 day rest and the travel.
Well, we talk about the travel, and someone on the Big Show mentioned that today. You know, the travel is one thing, right? It's not like we're back in the 60s where these guys got to take an Amtrak across country. Like, you know, Giannis is, in the seat where the seat folds out into a bed. It's about a 2.5 hour flight from Milwaukee to Boston, 3 hours. I mean, they're getting warm nuts and hot towels and warm chocolate chip cookies. So travel's a little bit different. I'm not going to say that's putting a lot of stress on those guys. They're not like you and I, Chris, when we got stuck in the airport trying to get to Cleveland from Salt Lake City and we had to do everything on our phone. Travel's a little bit easier for these guys. So I'm not really using the travel day excuse, and that's going to come into play when I talk about Philly later. But,
I will say you're not wrong in that sense, but just think about all the things that has to go into travel. I mean, you have to pack, you have to go to the airport, you got to get on the bus, you got to go through this, you got to get on the plane. Maybe there's something wrong with the plane. Then you got to go. Then you got to land. Then you got to go to the hotel. Then you got to check in. Then you got to wind yourself down. You're not in your own bed. You're in a hotel bed. Those things suck. The pillows suck. Maybe I need an extra pillow. Do I want room service?
Why are my sheets so tight?
I want a fan in here.
Do I want to hit the mini bar? Should I rent a movie? I don't want to rent a movie. Should I play a video game? I don't know what to do. Should I go to a bar? I don't want to be seen. There's just a lot that goes into like going on the road. And so, I don't know. Boston by like 45 tonight? I mean, what do you think?
Put your money on that, Chris.
Come on, you know we did, Adam. Brockman, tell us, what are the bets you have going on for this game tonight, by the way?
I got nothing going on.
What?
Really? I mean, I got nothing at the moment. I gotta weigh some options. I do think it's going to be low scoring today. I think both teams maybe under 100, maybe 105.
Right now, the
95.
The Celtics are favored right now by 5.5. You're not confident in that?
No, I would lay that. Like I said, I think they win by more than 10, and I think it's a low scoring game. I just think Milwaukee's not going to have any legs. I mean, watch them come out and score 60 in the first half, but I just don't think it's going to be there tonight for Milwaukee.
All right, Chris has said this one with his chest, Adam. He has said it with his chest. So we kind of know how he feels about the Celtics and Bucks game. Let's move over to the other game, what we have going on tonight, and that is the Golden State Warriors and the Grizzlies. Now, we got word that the Grizzlies suspect and expect Ja to be out for the remainder of the playoffs because of this bone bruise on his knee. And I think first and foremost, Adam and Chris, what that does is it kind of exonerates Jordan Poole, right? Like, I'm sorry, but there's no way I can buy the fact that Jordan Poole in that split-second moment grabbing for the ball, sees Ja Morant's knee, decided I'm going to, with my, Bruce Lee, G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip, hand motion, go out and rip his knee out of the socket. Like, no, man, I can't believe. We all know that he knocked knees earlier in the game, right, Adam? So I feel like everyone assumes that that's where the injury came from. But regardless, man, it's bad. It's bad news. It's bad for fans of the game because Ja is, as we've said from day one of this podcast, he's one of the future stars of the league. He's one of these guys who we love watching, whether he's on your team or not. He's someone that the fans can kind of like wrap their arms around and embrace. So having him not be a part of this it just stinks, and it's not fun and it's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, it is a horrible loss for the NBA. I mean, I think the Warriors close it out tonight. I think Memphis will fight hard, but I just don't think they have the talent to hang with Golden State. They had a golden opportunity last game. They were in it. They're winning the whole game until the last minute. That was their opportunity. They blew it. I just think it's going to be over tonight, and it stinks for Ja. And I don't think it's Jordan Poole's fault at all. He's not a dirty player. No. He didn't mean any harm with what he did, and Ja, he plays recklessly. So eventually, all of that contact is going to get the best of him. And like I've said before in previous podcasts, I'm concerned about the way he plays because I see Derrick Rose in terms of the talent and the potential injuries. When you're that small and you're that skinny and you're constantly going to the hoop, it's going to take a toll, especially in the playoffs. And I think it got the best of him in this previous game that he got injured in.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, he's also maybe too young to know better.
Mm-hmm.
He's only 22. He's only 22 years old, so he's played like this his whole life. He's never had any issues. So why would he stop now? And so it kind of takes something like this, where they maybe have a chance to, I mean, they were the higher seed, but, quote, knock off Golden State and get themselves into the Western Conference Finals when nobody saw a season like this coming from them back in October. You know, maybe take something like this to be like, okay, maybe I have to change the way I play. Maybe I have to put on 15 pounds in the off season. I have to bulk up and get a little tougher, get a little stronger, so I don't have these injuries. I actually kind of weirdly think, I kind of expect, Adam, with you, that Golden State closes it out tonight, but I think it's going to be another tough game. You know, as we've talked about all year, they're 20-5 without Ja. Well, 20-6 now without Ja this year. And so they've played well. They know how to play without him. They've had a lot of practice. It really just comes down to, you know, Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane kind of making three-pointers, and Kyle Anderson and his weird slow-motion jumper, and Jaren Jackson has this weird two-arm push shot with no rotation. Like, they just need to kind of make shots, and they've proven they can hang with Golden State. They've proven they can beat Golden State. And, you know, how much can they feed off the energy of that crowd tonight and maybe gut one out and force it to Game 6? I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, echoing what you said, Adam, it just sucks for the league. Ja's such an exciting player. You know, he really put himself on the map of superstardom. And anytime those guys are not playing, it's just a bummer.
But, Adam, to get back to what you said at the beginning, right? You said that the Grizzlies were still in that game last game, right? It came down to, what was it, a 3-point game that they ended up losing?
Yeah, they were winning pretty much the whole game until the final minute.
So, and we know that they do well without Ja Morant. This is a home game for the Grizz, and maybe the fact that they were in that game so long and were winning most of the game, that has to do something for that team. Like, yeah, it's a letdown that your best player is gone, but you've gone to battle without him 26 times this season. You've come out on top the majority of these times, and now you've got a home game. It's your possibly your last home game of the season. Basically, where I'm getting at is I think this Grizzlies team is going to step up, and I think we're going to see a Game 7. I feel
Game
like
Game 6.
I'm sorry, yeah, Game 6. I feel like, you know, they believe that they can win, and I think that's what happened last game. They showed that they could win without him. So, you know, maybe that crowd gets them through this. Maybe that energy lifts them up. I kind of, you know what? I'm just going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say the Grizz win this game.
Okay, bold prediction, TJ. I think the Grizz will stay in the game. I don't think it will be a blowout, but I think Golden State just has the killer instinct and will take care of it at the end. Great effort from Memphis, but I think Golden State will want to end this and get rested for a potential Phoenix or Dallas matchup coming up next week, probably.
Yeah, and they should win the Warriors, but, you know, like I said, that home crowd, one of you guys said earlier about being young and not knowing any better. Maybe they don't realize that they should not be in this spot. Maybe they should realize, that they shouldn't win this game.
We need to talk about, too, is just how poorly Golden State has been shooting the ball. I mean, they were 9 for 7 from 3 in Game 4. That's 24%. That's so ridiculous. Like, is that going to keep up? Can Memphis keep up? I mean, not that Memphis is shooting any better. They were 9 for 35, but you know, can they keep up their perimeter defense against Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson? I don't know. That's going to be a huge factor tonight, is like how these teams shoot from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, Klay and Steph were a combined 4 of 21 from 3. And now this works both ways again. You could say, wow, we held them to 4 of 21 from 3-pointers. But Golden State can also look at it like our two best players shot 4 of 21 and we still won the game, right? So it's I don't know. I don't have the answer to this riddle. I'm just looking forward to watching this game tonight because I feel it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, TJ, let's talk about your team. Let's do it. Don't put it off anymore. Let's talk about your team.
Let's move into the Sixers Heat game.
You're still licking your wounds?
You know, I'll make this quick. You know, Joel Embiid.
It's a podcast. We got as much time as we want.
That's true. But I don't want to talk about this very long because it hurts me. You know, we talk about Joel Embiid a lot. And, you know, we haven't even discussed the fact that the Joker won his second MVP award, right? And, you know, there's a lot of talk about people saying this guy should have won, that guy should have won. Look, obviously I'm an Embiid guy, so I wanted him to win. But looking at the numbers, I'm not going to argue with you if you told me you cast your vote for Joker. Although in the press and in Twitter, I only see people saying that they voted for Embiid. So it's like, where are all these people that voted for Joker for MVP? They're not coming out and raising their hands. So that's just one thing. But I feel like Joel proved his value by not playing in the first two games. Obviously, you saw what happened those first two games. It was just the Sixers got ran off the court. They didn't belong in the same arena with the Heat. But then he comes back, games 3 and 4, a completely different Sixer team. You know, he's still hurting. I mean, everything on this man's body's hurting. He's got a busted thumb. He's got a broken face. His back hurts. He still has a lingering meniscus problem in his knee from earlier in the season. But he's just going out there and just trying to put this team on his back. And James Harden, you know, we got that little glimpse, right? We got that little glimpse of what Rich has been asking for the last 2 weeks. Like, give me that James Harden, that 30-point, that 12 assists, the 10 rebound, the triple-double James Harden. And you kind of got a glimpse of that. But, man, this last game, fellas, it was, you know, getting back to travel day, you want to blame it on that, right? But, again, Philly to Miami is like 2.5 hours on a private jet. And you got all your, you know, accoutrements, and you got everything that you need for comfortable travel. So I'm not going to put it on travel. It's just basically two ways of looking at this. One, the Sixers could have just forfeited the game. They just would have been better off not even showing up. And you got to look at it like the Heat just beat the crap out of the Sixers yesterday. I mean, just, you know, as Ice Cube said, no Vaseline. It was just ugly. Right from the start, Adam, it was like these guys.
They were rubbing it in.
I have this thing with my teams, right, where I can tell you right off the bat how the game's going to go. Right? Whether it comes to football, basketball, I just get a feeling. 4 minutes into this game, I was just like, we got no chance today. We have no chance. You know, and then Embiid jumps out of bounds, comes up hurting his back, and then he gets hit in the face with the ball. When you have a man that big, that strong, and he's kind of laying on the ground in tears because of his face, like, it's hard. It's hard to play a basketball game when you're that beat up. And with the rest of the team, we have no depth. We have no consistent bench players. It's just, it was brutal, guys. And I'm done talking about it. It was just brutal.
I knew the game was.
I wish you had told me you had that feeling 4 minutes in. We could have made a lot of money yesterday betting against the Sixers.
Well, I'll let you know from now on.
I knew the game was over the moment I saw DJ Khaled giving Eric Spoelstra a shoulder rub. At that point on the sideline, did you guys see that?
But wasn't that like fourth quarter?
At that point, that's just like total surrender.
It was legitimately over by that point, though.
Yeah, but that was so funny to see, though.
Yeah, that was the cherry on top. Like,
but if you look at the stats, and I always go back to the numbers. Embiid had 17 points and 5 rebounds. If you're an MVP, you want to be MVP, you think you're better than Jokic, you can't score 17 points and 5 rebounds in a crucial game 5. That's not a good performance. Harden only had 14 points and Maxey only had 9. So you're having 40 points between your 3 best scorers. That's not going to get it done. And then the Heat had a well-balanced attack. They had 7 guys in double figures with Jimmy Butler leading the way. Just a great overall performance. The Heat play great defense, great team ball. PJ Tucker is such a great addition to that team. And Victor Oladipo is another great addition. This guy, former star, had some injuries, but he's really shown up in this series, and he's a legitimate threat on offense. So the Heat have a really well-balanced team and a lot of depth. Like Duncan Robinson is barely playing, and that guy was playing in heavy minutes in the NBA Finals 2 years ago.
I think he's played 14 total minutes this series, and it was last game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, I mean, this Heat team, like you said, they're deep, they're talented, they play good defense, and Jimmy Butler just quiet as kept. You know, he's. Man, it hurts me, guys, when I think back to the half season that Butler spent with Philly, and I kind of look back and I go, what if? Because, you know, that's always my favorite thing to play, even as much as it hurts. It's like, what if? What if the Sixer brass could have seen what I think Jimmy Butler saw? He had problems with Brett Brown. I think he had some Simmons problems. Like, what if they would have did everything they could? And by the way, it's very hard to stop a man from going from Philly to Miami, right? Like, it would take a lot for him to turn that down. But you just think, Mike, what if Butler and Embiid were still playing on the same team? It's going to haunt me forever, this thought, guys. And it's just like, and it just goes along the line of just bad moves that Philly has made over the years. It just drives me up the wall. And I'm fully expecting, though, the Sixers to win Game 6 at home, because guess what? They can't lose that game at home. Like, Brockman, you just said the Boston guys didn't go to work today and they've been drinking all day and they're rowdy. Well, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
You do not want to lose Game 6 in Philly, especially after what happened last season. And another thing, Adam, just to give Embiid some credit, you're right. 17-5, you want to make a statement. That is not the way to make the statement. And as Shaq says, and sometimes I hate that Shaq has this platform on the NBA on TNT. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's for the same reason that people are eventually going to hate Tom Brady when he does these games. Because, like Shaq says, I have G19 classification. Yeah, Shaq, you do. You were one of the greatest of all time. You were the most dominant of your era. And the problem is, if Shaq's going to compare everything to what he did, then everyone's going to fall short of greatness, right? So yesterday, Shaq was like, no excuses, no excuses. Well, that, in a sense, is true. Right? And by the way, I do love Shaq. I'm just saying, it's very hard when you got a guy that's that good, and he's saying this stuff about players. It's like you kind of go, oh, well, they're just not as good as you are, Shaq. But look at the amount of injuries that Joel has, man. And it's just the fact that he is still out there giving it a go. I got to give him props. But ultimately, the Diesel's right. There are no excuses, and history doesn't care whether or not your face is broken, your thumb is hanging off, and you got a bad knee and a bad back. It's just, but I feel like they're going to get it done.
I like to give you a lot of crap about Philly and Embiid, but he is super likable, and he is crazy dominant. And it's just kind of too bad. It just seems like either he's snake bitten or he just has plain old dumb bad luck, with the injuries and crappy teammates and a guy that just loves the strip club too much and bad general managers and bad coaches. It's just like, I wonder if at what point, I know Joel wants to win one for Philly so bad, but at what point does he just say, look, I need a change of scenery. I need to get out of here. I need to mix it up just for my own sanity or my own good fortune,
It feels like him and Damian Lillard would be a match made in heaven, either in Portland or in Philadelphia. Those are the two players who we talk about who are superstars, but maybe need a change of scenery.
Well, guys, let's be very honest here and very clear. Joel Embiid is never getting out of Philly. Like, we know that. He's not going, because he's the king of the city.
What do you mean? We don't know that. Tom Brady was never leaving New England.
Yeah? Well, I mean, look, 22 years later, he finally left New England. So he might as well have, you know what I mean? Like, Embiid's not going anywhere.
And you know what happened in the first year that he left? He won a championship somewhere else.
Well, that would hold more weight had Brady not already won championships, though. Like,
I know, but Embiid wants to be this MVP, this championship player. It's just not happening in Philly, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Listen, Chris, you're starting to anger me. He's not going anywhere, all right? He's stuck in Philly. But the fact is, Adam, what for a whole year even before we started the pod, on our show, I've been saying this, Dame Lillard, do you want to be like on that list of great players who never won a ring? Because one, you're not going to win a ring in Portland, right? He needs to get with a big man. And I just saw, man, and I saw this, I thought Lillard and Embiid together was just going to be a thing of beauty. And I pounded the table. I really wanted it. And then we got Harden, which is fantastic. But I think we're noticing that we're not going to get the James Harden that you thought you were going to get, right? Yeah. So I don't know what the issue is. It's not the James Harden that we need to have to win a ring. So I don't know, man. It's very tough. It's very hard to sit back when you get so excited. Because you think about everything that Embiid's been through with the whole Ben Simmons situation. Like, so you basically, minus the 24 games that we had James Harden, he had to carry this team the entire season, had to put him on his back, all the while dealing with this Ben Simmons situation hanging over his head. And he handled himself, I thought, in the proper way. He put some tweets and a few memes out. But think about how just exhausting that would be. Like, you've got a number one pick, like an all-star, who should be running the court with you, and now he's caught up in his feelings. and he doesn't show up, and now it's all on you. You know, it's just a bad situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because Embiid has battled injuries throughout his whole career. There was a time 3 or 4 years ago where people were concerned, will this guy be out of the league when he's 27, 28 years old?
Because remember, he missed his first two seasons.
First 2 seasons, he didn't eat well. He drank a lot of Shirley Temples, way too many Shirley Temples from what I remember, like a gallon a day or something crazy like that. But there was a concern that Embiid would never even reach where he is right now, and he's become potentially a Hall of Famer right now. If he retired, multiple time All-Star, he's proven to fulfill his potential that people thought he had in the draft. But it always just feels like something goes wrong, whether it's with Simmons or with Harden. People are seeing Harden become a guy that's just a shell of his former self within the last half a season, it feels like. Like, I was even watching the game yesterday, and I know for a fact some of the moves that Harden made, he would have finished when he was on Houston. He just doesn't have the explosion that he used to have. And you can see it in real time. And it's unfortunate for the Sixers because I think in their head, they still thought they were getting prime or close to prime Harden. But it's maybe a combination of the system and he's just getting older, where it's clearly not the same James Harden that you expected to get.
Yeah, it's it's always weird when you see these great players, right? Eventually, most everyone's going to reach their wall, right? Except for, we're still waiting for LeBron.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he's still doing it. Like, what is LeBron, 37?
Yeah, it's 37.
Okay, because I can remember, back in the day when an athlete turned around 30, it was almost like the death sentence. But then years change, people get more into fitness, more into nutrition, blah, blah, blah. So those 30s become, Tom Brady's 44 or whatever. But I think we're seeing James Harden, this great competitor, this all NBA 75 player. I think we're witnessing him hit that wall. And for me, it's just tough because he's on my team. Every now and then we're going to get a flash of that brilliance, right?
Yeah.
But we need that consistently in order to win a title. And I just don't know if that guy exists anymore. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that's what makes LeBron, like you said, so special, and Michael Jordan so special, because Michael Jordan had to change his game. He still was athletic towards the end of his career with the Bulls of 96 through 98. He still was an athlete, but nowhere near the athlete he used to be. But he changed his game, shooting medium-range jump shots, perfecting the fadeaway. So Harden really has to figure out the next evolution in his game if he wants to stick around another 4 or 5 years. He's not that old. He's only 32.
32, yeah.
He's 32 years old. So he still has 6-7 years potentially in the league. He just needs to adjust his game and really work on maybe perfecting a fadeaway or another move that doesn't necessarily involve going to the hoop. I know his signature move is a step back, but he just seems like he's not even quick enough to do that as much anymore. So it's an issue with him.
And Chris is the biggest Harden fan on the show. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I guess kind of echoing what you guys said. I mean, he just needs to figure out where he wants to take his game here in the final years of his career. Like, does he want to get crazy about nutrition and fitness? I mean, Harden is low-key thick, and like, I think he's secretly jacked, but like, we just see all the random pictures of him where he looks a little overweight, and obviously he's a kind of a famous strip club party late night guy, but he just has to be serious about it. Like, what does he want? I can't imagine the Sixers are going to sign him to a 4-year, $200 million contract. So, I mean, would you give him $200 million right now? Absolutely not.
No way.
No one in their right mind.
No way.
Yeah, no one in their right mind would, and he probably thinks he deserves it, but what has he really proven in the last year and a half that he deserves it? And, I do really like James Harden, but Adam, you're right, the explosion isn't there. The consistency's not there. If he wants to tail back his game, kind of Chris Paul style, and be like, look, I'm happy only scoring 15 to 20 a night, but I'll guarantee you 10 to 15 assists a night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you take that.
Yeah.
He could be a really kind of amazing point guard in the twilight of his career if he just wants to kind of be a floor general. But this whole dribble for 20 seconds and shoot a step back three, like those days are over.
Yeah.
And he just needs to get real about it.
I was going to say something there and I completely forgot where I was going. But yeah, it's a good point, Chris, because I watched him run the offense and I feel like, if he just wanted to dedicate himself to that point guard position and being a distributor and not have to worry about being, the primary point producer, you could definitely see a resurgence. But the thing is, Daryl Morey is a James Harden guy. We know that. So I'm 1,000% expect Daryl to re-sign James. Now it's just about the size of the contract. And, I don't ever like to get into another man's pockets or anything, but, the type of money that you just said, Chris, I just don't feel like we can afford to give him, not with so many holes on this team. We don't have anyone on the bench.
Well, and what I think also is that maybe fans need to lessen their expectations of James Harden and realize he's not that superstar scorer anymore, and be happy with the fact that this guy can maybe get 15 to 18 points a game and 10 assists. If fans are okay with that, then James Harden can thrive wherever he is and just not have the expectations of being the number one 30 points a game scorer anymore.
Very good. And also, but remember, going back to what I said when this trade was made, you guys asked me how I felt the Sixers would do, and I was honest with you. I said, look, they're going to have 24 regular season games. It's all that's left. All right, I think Harden played in 22 of them. Now you have the playoffs. So even if the Sixers do lose, have an early exit, well, I don't even know if you consider this early, I'm still willing to give this team a shot next year, strictly based on the fact that now you don't have that Simmons specter looming over. You now have this team for a full season. It'll be interesting to see what they can do. But, again, I'm going all in. I'm thinking Game 6 is definitely a Sixers win, and we'll go from there. And let's finish this up with the last series, Mavs and Suns. Adam, you're the biggest Luka fan here, so why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're seeing?
Hey, Luka balled out last night. There's only so much he can do. I mean, Luka had a monster game. Well, not necessarily monster, but he had 28 points. That's a great game. Jalen Brunson had 21. The problem is the rest of the Mavs supporting cast had 0. Yeah. Bullock had 0 points. Finney-Smith had 8 points. It's just not going to happen for them unless the role guys step it up. There's only so much Luka can do. He's an absolute superstar. There's a developing rivalry between him and Booker, which is fun to watch.
Love it.
You can tell that those guys are going to be going at it for the next 15, 20 years. It's fantastic to watch. I think Luka has the killer instinct. I love him. I think he is obviously a future Hall of Famer. I think Luka responds with a monster game in Dallas. I could see Luka scoring 40 points in Dallas. The role guys stepping up with the momentum at home. And I actually do believe that this series will go 7 games. I think the Suns win in 7, but I think the Mavs have a great bounce back game. They played so bad in this previous game. The Suns were great. Chris Paul, the interesting thing is Chris Paul didn't have a good game in
last
game
3
5.
games.
Yeah, he struggled, but the other guys, Ayton and Bridges and Booker obviously was a superstar the way he played. Yeah, Booker is the man. Even you got contributions from Bismack Biyombo. So you're getting contributions.
Cam Johnson had 14.
Yeah, you're getting contributions from the role players, and that was the difference in this game.
Now, Adam, let me ask Brockman this, because, Chris, you just made a comment earlier about, Embiid finally having enough and deciding he's going to leave. I'm going to pose this question to you now about Luka. How long do you think Luka is just going to be okay with, having 0 help while he's a member of the Dallas Mavericks?
I mean, he's got a few more years, I think, before he's in that situation. What's Embiid, 28, something like that?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so Luka's 23. So, look, expecting Dorian Finney-Smith to be Craig Hodges every single game, I think, is ludicrous. What do you have, 8 threes in Game 4?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then he came back down to earth. Reggie Bullock having 0 points is shocking because he's a pretty good shooter.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I think Luka's probably going to give it at least 2 more years, probably, before he starts, really making some noise about not having enough help. What if we get Dame, Luka, and Embiid all on the same team, and then we just roll them out there so they can just crush everyone's dreams and
let me tell
every
you,
title? What do
Let
we
me
think
tell you
about
something,
that?
Chris. If that were to happen and they played for the Lakers, then I would have to go against everything I believe in life and become a Laker fan.
We have to be Lakers fans.
Like if
we have to be Lakers fans.
if they decided that they wanted to team up on the Sacramento Kings, well, guess what? My favorite color is now going to be purple. Like I was thinking that the other day. Imagine Luka and Embiid on the same squad. Like the damage that would be done with those two. But I mean, it's a pipe dream because it's never going to happen unless it's an all-star game.
Yeah, probably not. I will say I kind of disagree with you, Adam. I think this series is over. Expecting Luka's teammates to play out of their mind.
And Chris, I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want to interrupt you, but the shot we have right now is Adam kind of just staring at your head cut out in your chair as you're talking to him. It's just really funny because
he thought I had a big head. Look at this guy over here.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's perfect. I think just Phoenix showed. I mean, that was kind of a close game yesterday, and then the second half it was just an absolute boat race. And I kind of expect. I kind of expect all these series to kind of wrap up in 6 games. I don't think any of them go 7, unfortunately. Like the NBA is going to pull out Scott Foster. I'm actually shocked Scott Foster's not in Boston tonight. They tried it in Game 4 with Tony Brothers being in Milwaukee, but that didn't work. But the NBA is going to roll out Ed Malloy and Scott Foster. They're going to try to get these games to 7, but I kind of just don't really see it happening. I think they're all over in 6.
I heard Dick Pavetta was coming out of retirement for a game. So
Dick Pavetta's coming out of retirement. Bennett Salvatore.
Joey Crawford.
oh man,
the worst.
Yeah, Joey Crawford.
Joey Crawford. Someone's already started the game with 2 T's right off the bat of Joey Crawford.
Yeah. They're all coming out of retirement to get Game 7s. But nah, I just don't see it. Those blowouts really told me a lot. So I'm just gonna go with my gut there.
All right, so looking back at it, we feel as though Brockman feels like the Celtics have it in the bag tonight against the Bucks. I think, Adam, you and I are going with Milwaukee, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
you didn't even really say that.
I think the Celtics get the victory tonight.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think the Celtics get the victory tonight. They have such a great home court advantage. Their crowd is incredible. But I think Milwaukee wins Game 6, and I think we see a Game 7 with Boston and Milwaukee, and that will be so fun to watch.
All right, well, that's, for our next pod. Let's talk about today, though. Golden State, Memphis, you believe...
I think Golden State closes out tonight.
Right. And Brockman, you also believe that, correct?
Yeah, I think so, too.
I am going to just go against the grain. I'm going to say that the Grizzlies show up, and they stand up, and they take this to a Game 7. A Game 6, rather. I feel like they're going to get the win tonight. And I keep saying Game 7 because I'm so used to the Warriors being in that top spot. So it's just like, it's hard for me to move my mind around that they're not the home team. That's why I've said that twice today. All right, so I'm picking the Grizz. And Sixers Heat, I'm going Sixers. Adam?
I'm going Sixers as well. I think there's another Game 7 series.
And Brockman thinks the Heat are going. And you believe that the Heat are going to?
I'm going Heat. I got to go with the better team.
Okay. And Mavs Suns, I think we all. Well, Adam, I forget where you stood on this Mavs.
No, I think there's going to be another Game 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm calling these Game 7s.
All right.
So I think the Dallas Mavericks win that game.
And Chris and I believe that Phoenix are going to.
No. Phoenix.
All right. So, Chris, did you see episode 10 of Winning Time or no?
I did. I have. I've watched the finale.
Okay. And how about you, Adam? Did you have a chance to?
I watched it last night before I went to bed.
All right, you guys, I think we should do a whole series recap later, but we just want to quickly touch on episode 10. Spoiler alert, guess what? The Lakers won the NBA championship.
Way.
Believe it or not, yeah.
Whoa.
They defeated the Philadelphia 76ers. The Dr. J led Philadelphia 76ers and 4-2. And, this episode, because Adam, I think 2 episodes or podcasts ago, I should say, you made a comment that all we're seeing are alley-oop dunks as far as basketball goes. So we definitely had the most basketball action that we've had in this series so far, right? And, the show starts off, it was great. Kareem doing Kareem things, just dominating, and then we see he has the ankle injury, goes to the locker room. They're like, maybe you shouldn't go back out there. He goes back, finishes the game, they win, but then he's out. So now they've got to go ahead and go to Philly without Cap, right? And so we have that going on. And I thought this was pretty well done in terms of, like I said, it's hard to really get great basketball scenes. But I felt this told a really good story of the game. I don't know how accurate point-wise or when he went out was, but I really enjoyed this despite the fact that the Sixers, are coming out on the bad end of this later on in the episode. But, yeah, what did you think about just the opening and how we were introduced to the game 5?
Yeah, there's so many TV shows and movies where they just have some of the worst basketball players imaginable playing basketball.
Yeah.
And it just takes me out of the whole watching situation. I just can't focus on anything other than the fact that these guys clearly have never played basketball before.
Why is his dribble so high?
Yeah, just awkward movements, bad air balls, just awful playing. But I think that this series did a great job in terms of casting not only people who can act, but that can play basketball.
Yeah.
Quincy Isaiah, who plays Magic Johnson, he really looks like he can play ball. And the way he mimics Magic's movements, his passes, the way he dribbles, he did a really great job. I think Rick Fox trained him.
Oh yeah.
And and he really looks like he can play ball. And you have Norm Nixon's son, who obviously can play. That guy has a great jumper. And then you have the guy who played Dr. J, who looks like he used to play ball also. So
James Leisure.
Yeah, so you have these guys that legit can play. And then the fact that I forgot the actor's name, but the guy who plays Kareem,
Solomon Thomas. There couldn't be a better, he was the perfect
He's
pick.
perfect.
Yeah,
he looks like him. He
Kareem.
sounds like him.
Yeah.
He's got the hook shot 100% down. So I was very impressed with the actual gameplay itself, and it didn't take me out of it. In fact, I thought to myself while I was watching it, this is great, this gameplay. And so that was awesome to watch. I really enjoyed the scene where they were going to the airport to Philadelphia, and Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar were in the car together.
I'm glad you used their last names there because I don't think people would have knew who you were talking about.
Yeah,
if
I might
you
have been talking about Magic Jones and Kareem Jefferson, I guess. I'm mentioning your name. Okay, not good improv, but anyway, no, but I love the scene where essentially Kareem was saying that, he didn't really. The subtext was he didn't really trust in Magic when the season first started. Mm-hmm. He's this young, naive rookie, and
with the whitest teeth he's ever seen.
Yeah, and he went crazy in the first game, and when Kareem hit that game-winning shot. But then he essentially explained to Magic that he grew a total trust of him.
Yeah.
And now, he's giving him the utmost confidence to take Game 6 and win the championship. And that was symbolic. Obviously, he gave him the jersey. And you could see the clear total confidence that Magic Johnson had on the airplane. He had the boombox. He brought out the jersey. He was encouraging everybody. So you could see that the encouragement from Kareem really helped him besides the natural confidence he already has. So I thought that was cool. You could see that they were really ready to take that Game 6, and I thought they did a good job showing that with the scenes in the airport and then on the plane.
Yeah. How about you, Chris?
I mean, look, I love the show. The only thing that really annoys me is when they would get weird statistical things wrong that we could just look up and obviously see that they were wrong. That was the only thing that really kind of bothered me throughout the year, how they kind of, jerked around with the schedule and when the road trip was and where they were when they played the Celtics for the first time and all of that. But
we know that's done for TV purposes, so,
I know. It's done to kind of build up the drama, but I just there's so much drama in real life and in the truth. Something as great as this Lakers Showtime origin story didn't need kind of, fact-bending, made-for-TV type stuff, in my opinion. But it was great. The finale was awesome. I really hope – I don't know if it's true that their little meeting outside the airport, I don't know if that really happened, and I don't know if all the plane stuff happened, but I really hope it does.
Yeah,
I really hope that's true because, it was just so cool seeing Magic's personality, and nobody knows if that meeting with Jack McKinney and Paul Westhead took place where
he gave him his notes.
Magic started center anyway. If Kareem ever got hurt, nobody knows if that's real or not. But it kind of makes for a good drama. Kind of ties everything together. Of this guy did know what he was doing. He would have been a great coach. They probably would have got here anyway. Other than, this freak accident that took place. But
it's kind of sad though when you look back on his history, what could have been for that guy.
It is. I mean,
You know?
he does get a couple other shots with Indiana and Detroit, and it just never worked out.
Well, yeah, you know why, Chris? Because you don't have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson and Norm Nixon and Michael Cooper on your team, you know?
That's totally true. You know, it's funny. I wanted to bring this up to you guys because I've heard Simmons and them talk about it when they've talked about this show. So everybody knows how great Magic was in Game 6, right? He starts at center, he jumps tip, 42 points and 15 rebounds and all this stuff. Jamal Wilkes had 37 in Game 6. He was unbelievable for the Lakers all season long. He was their second leading scorer behind Kareem, and that dude who plays Jamal Wilkes had 0 lines. We never see him take or make a shot. We never see him do anything except just stand around. His only scene really was midway through the year when they went to that movie premiere. You know
That's right. And he spotted Bill Cosby.
What do we got to do to give Jamal Wilkes some run? Because he was unbelievable that year for the Lakers.
Well, I think you just did, Chris. You just gave him some run. You showed the truth, right?
Other than that, it was awesome. We all know how it ends. We can kind of see how they're setting. We can talk about this more next week when we do kind of a full season recap. But you can see how they're kind of setting things up for next season. Maybe they combine a couple of the years. Of course, they play the Celtics the next year in the finals. Or the Celtics win the championship the next year. I think the Celtics win in 81.
Yeah, I think they do.
And they're setting up Jeannie versus her brothers.
Yeah.
You know, he brings her brothers to the game, and those guys are clearly just idiots.
Hey, Chris, I'm glad you brought that up because that scene, right after the Game 5 where, Dr. Buss calls Jeannie into the office and, Claire comes in and she's like, hey, I got some good news. We actually, we turned a bit of a profit and they don't have a treasurer because that's his mom. And then, he's having this meeting with Jeannie and he's, expressing this is what I'm looking for. And you could just see obviously she's too young to get this job right at that time. But you could see the excitement in her face. Is he going to look to me for something? And then it turns into take your brothers around and see which one takes to the job. And that actress, and I'm sorry, I don't even know her name, and I'm sorry because I should. Just she played the sadness that she showed. It just I felt that sitting there because as he's talking to her and you see her getting excited, I'm watching this and I'm like, oh man, he's gonna break her heart. And I'm literally saying that to myself as I'm watching. And sure as crap, it's it happens, and you could just see the utter disappointment in her face. And I don't know that really happened, but I'm willing to bet that is probably a true scenario where her dad probably did overlook her because of her age and thinking that the boys were going to be better off. So, that was a good scene.
In real life, none of that is really true.
Yeah,
her
Jeannie
is just kind of thrown in.
Yeah.
She doesn't end up joining the Lakers until 1983 or something. So all of that was kind of made up to kind of get the Jeannie character into the show. And
also Jeannie was the youngest owner of a team. She owned a tennis team that played in the four.
Yeah, she was born. She was born in September of '61, so she was 18 years old when they won.
Yeah,
so way too young.
Way too young,
Yeah, so all the stuff with her in the show this year is completely kind of just thrown together just to kind of have the Jeannie character because everyone knows who she is anyway, obviously, because she's owner of the Lakers right now. So it's I wasn't really too down with a lot of the Jeannie stuff. None of it really made sense to me. And it just wasn't that interesting in terms of I guess it was only really uninteresting to me because I knew it wasn't true. So I was only really into the stuff that happened and could have happened.
Yeah, I personally allowed myself to just like any other TV show. They take liberties. You kind of, especially living here in Hollywood, you know how things work more so than some other people might not. So I kind of took it all with a grain of salt. I love the Jeannie arc just because of the relationship that she had with her dad. I was a fan of that, and to just continue to end the episode. We get the point where we see Kareem at home and he's hurting. And then we get to the point where Spencer Hayward, I don't know how real this is, but, previous episode, he puts a hit out on Kareem. And then, he claims that he's going to call the hit off because now that Kareem's hurt, he knows he's going to get a call to come back to play. And he's like, drugged out of his mind. And of course that doesn't happen. And then at the end of the episode, Kareem shows up to his house and they have like that moment. Again, not sure what's real or what's not real, but that was pretty powerful between the two of them. And
what I read with what really happened is that Spencer Haywood really did put a hit out, but it was on Paul Westhead. He was going to have somebody. He was going to have somebody cut Paul Westhead's brakes, so he just like got into a car accident and would hopefully die in his mind.
Wow,
that's what I read.
And what's really interesting, somehow I stumbled across Spencer Haywood has an Instagram account.
Oh, word?
Yeah, he has an Instagram account, and it looks like he is actually enjoying the series. He's posting about it. He wrote, "Shout out to Winning Time HBO for amplifying the truth. 100. Catch up on Winning Time ahead of this Sunday's finale." So it looks like, the way they portrayed him, he seems to like.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So cool.
Wood Harris. Shout out to Wood Harris doing a great job as Spencer Haywood.
Oh yeah, he was awesome. He was awesome as Spencer. Because like what a just complex character. They didn't get super hardcore into the drug use that Spencer was dealing with throughout that whole season, but they definitely touched on it enough where you knew it was a major issue for him and the team.
Yeah, they touched on the drug use, the fact that his court case, kind of essentially blacklisted him in the NBA. Like, he's just a very complex man, and hopefully, they did his story right. And I guess according to Adam, by looking at his tweets, he's okay with how he's represented. So that's a good thing. Well, fellas, I think we've reached that moment where we have nothing else to talk about.
Time for lunch, boys.
Time for lunch. All right. So big games tonight. We've got Golden State, Memphis. We've got Celtics, Bucks. And we're hoping, some of us are hoping for extended series. Some of us are hoping that series are ending soon. But regardless, it's been a great playoffs, guys, and I haven't had this much fun watching the playoffs in a long time. So I kind of hope that maybe we just keep getting as many extra games as we can. All right. Well, on behalf of Chris Brockman, who's at home, or I don't know where he's at. Like I said, he could be in Ibiza for all I know.
Yeah, I like the list.
Yeah, Ibiza. We got Adam Chudwin, and I'm TJ. I want to say thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace out.